We've seen an insane rise in hate crime in Britain. It's pretty much the only growth industry we've got as more and more police officers are diverted from dealing with burglaries or violence, actual crime, to deal with somebody saying something on Twitter that hurts someone's feelings. These statistics are trotted out by politicians on the left to show, look at the increase. Look how hateful and nasty Britain is becoming. This shows we need more restrictions on what people can say, and we need to lock more people up for spreading their horrible hate. But what is a hate crime? Well, this week we got a look when the details of a hate crime investigation into two senior police officers was revealed. I'll show you the video in a moment, but first let's hear how it was reported in the news. Two top cops accused of mocking a colleague's Irish accent in grossly offensive leaving video. Their joke was part of a grossly offensive video presentation to a retiring firearms chief inspector. A skit shows the then West Midlands Police Chief Constable Sir David Thompson and his deputy Alex Murray in uniform pretending not to understand his accent. They simply said yes to anything he asked for. The video also includes gun cops posing as travellers offering to do a driveway, then pretending to break into a car. There are also repeated references to potatoes. One officer has a toothbrush in an unusual part of his anatomy, while another pretends to be a kidnap victim. There is also an image of a topless Muslim woman serving alcohol to one of the firearms team and graphic sexual images of women. Sir David is a former lead on race and inclusion for the National Police Chiefs Council, while Mr. Murray is now a boss at the National Crime Agency. Whistleblower and ex-detective inspector Becky Callum said, "Had this material been sent on social media by a member of the public, then they would have been arrested for a hate crime. But when it comes to the police themselves, then nothing is done about it." Yeah, nothing should be done about it. Whoever sends it, that just sounds funny. And let's see how it was reported on television.
For me, it is the most derogatory, racist and misogynistic video that police officers have created here.
It was meant to be a humorous leaving video for a retiring firearms officer. But the officer happened to be Irish, and the video's been the subject of an ongoing complaint.
It's those tropes of what the Irish community have been believed to be. Two firearms officers coming up to the door of this house, pretending they're Irish and that they want to dig up the drive.
He's the drive of the caravan with a potato, you know this? You like gangs like that?
And then it switches to them actually trying to smash into one of the vehicles as if they're criminals.
Rebecca Callum is a former firearms officer, a poster girl for West Midlands Police. Last year, she won more than £800,000 at a tribunal after exposing misogyny, discrimination and a predatory culture within the force. She believes the video, which contains scenes viewers may find offensive, is an example of that culture.
And then this is shocking. That officer, with his pants down, sitting on the toilet, defecating in an Irish accent with a spade and shovel, with another officer completely naked with a little pinny on, doing the hoovering, turns around and penetrated up his rectum is a toothbrush.
West Midlands Police told us Ms Callum had made multiple complaints and that some aspects can't be progressed in accordance with complaints regulations. But she now wants to see the investigation reopened.
You know that a lot of officers will argue that it was just a leaving video. It was meant to have been done as a bit of fun. It was meant to be light-hearted.
Yeah, and there is that dark humour in policing, but this isn't fun. This isn't light-hearted. This is a hate crime.
Even if it was only for internal purposes and it was a leaving video for somebody who is Irish.
It's still a crime. If this was done in the public, we would be investigating this as a criminal offence.
The former detective inspector argues the video is of particular concern because it was endorsed by the very top.
I tried to ask him to treat everyone with dignity and respect.
With a starring role for the then Chief Constable Sir David Thompson on the left, along with Alex Murray, who's now a director with the National Crime Agency. Campaigners argue it sets a worrying tone for policing. The Met was recently criticised by the police watchdog, which found some officers tried to excuse racist, bullying and misogynistic social media messages as banter.
Banter has been used as an excuse for many, many years. The fact that it can happen at such a high level and across the board still in policing, despite So many promises made over the years that we are going to change, we are going to reform. You know, how many times can we come up with the same excuses?
Sir David is now retired and told us the video was previously reviewed by the Police and Crime Commissioner and no further action was deemed necessary. The PCC's office told us they investigated Sir David's role in the one video and that he was subject to a reflective practice review process.
There are some people watching who might say, well, look, you took a case against West Midlands Police, you won. Why not let it go now? Why not move on?
This was about change, positive change. This was about making sure that the officers were disciplined correctly for discriminatory behaviour.
The IOPC told us they hadn't received a referral, but given the nature of the complaint, they're now investigating with West Midlands Police.
Man, 90% of journalism training must just be conditioning yourself to keep a straight face when you're reporting on this stuff. The real hate criminal, the person spreading misery, division and resentment, is the jumped up minge complaining about it, the self-appointed milk monitor of free expression. The video wasn't even aimed at her, and I bet that the person that it was aimed at found it absolutely hilarious. I don't know if you've ever had a job, but humour like this isn't hate. It helps people bond and breaks down divisions between them, and workplace morale is ruined by these nurse ratchets who take advantage of whatever hate speech rules to exert power over people. It's noticeable that in my most diverse friendship groups, shout out to the Conspiracy Wankers group chat, we're all racist to each other and we find it hilarious. Whereas in my white friendship groups, people have a stick up their ass about this stuff. Years ago, I worked under this insanely fat female boss who was the precursor to this diversity and equity and inclusion nonsense. One Christmas, she said we couldn't have Secret Santa at work because somebody might find it offensive. So all we did was we did Secret Santa down the pub and we didn't invite her, and everyone had to get the most egregiously offensive Christmas presents possible. I've never seen so many dildos and swastikas. And this woman, Becky Callum, or should I say Karen, is moaning because she was exposed to a joke that wasn't even aimed at her. Exposed to a joke? I mean, Jesus, those guys who shoveled plutonium off the roof at Chernobyl with a bit of lead plate over their testicles must be so glad they were just exposed to deadly radioactive isotopes and not a Facebook video of a guy with a toothbrush up his bum. Really puts their sacrifice in perspective. And no wonder so many minges are moaning about hate crime when it's so profitable. Miss Callum quit the police after suing for sex discrimination, harassment and victimisation, receiving more than £820,000 in compensation. What's worse is that she donated this money to charity. She didn't even have any fun with it, she just wasted it, no doubt on other hectoring do-gooders, some progressively left-wing lobbying group that's trying to bring in more restrictive communist speech laws to make more misery for British people. And what's the impact on policing? In 2010 to 11, 15% of crimes recorded by the police resulted in a charge or summons. That's now fallen to roughly 6% today. It's halved, and this is partly because police resources are diverted to investigating hate speech and non-crime hate incidents, which are incidents that don't meet the threshold of crime but the government doesn't like. So a good example was former police officer Harry Miller, who had a non-crime hate incident recorded against him after retweeting a transphobic limerick that said, "You're a man, your breasts are made of silicone, your vagina goes nowhere, and we can tell the difference, even when you're not there. Your hormones are synthetic, and let's just cross this bridge. What you have, you stupid man, is male privilege." I mean, the only trouble with this is that it's not a limerick. This is a poem, self-identifying as a limerick. It's a trans poem. But there's no way it should have had police involvement. These non-crime hate incidents are serious. They stay on your record, so if an HR department does a background check on you when you apply for a job, it'll come up. There are hundreds of thousands of these issued by the police, often for ridiculous things. Norfolk police recorded a non-crime hate incident after a man called a Welshman a sheep shagger, and two girls at a secondary school received non-crime hate incidents for saying that one of their fellow pupils smelled of fish. In Cambridgeshire, a man had a non-crime hate incident recorded for comparing his neighbour to a Rottweiler dog during a dispute over parking. A retired teacher had a non-crime hate incident recorded for sending a polite letter about abortion, and another man was issued with a non-crime hate incident for announcing that he supports Brexit. Politicians can't escape them either. Tory MP Amber Rudd had a non-crime hate incident recorded for giving a speech on immigration that the person complaining hadn't even listened to, and Scottish politician Murdo Fraser received one for saying choosing to identify as non-binary is as valid as choosing to identify as a cat. And a barber in London had a non-crime hate incident recorded after being accused of cutting someone's hair aggressively. And in one of the most insane examples, a drug dealer was hit with a non-crime hate incident after a customer claimed that he'd been ripped off due to his sexuality. It's mad that police ignore the actual crime taking place, somebody buying drugs, and instead deal with the non-crime hate incident of someone saying they'd been given crummy coke because they're gay. All complaints seem to automatically result in a non-crime hate incident being issued. A solicitor tweeted that her cat was a Methodist and then got a colleague to make a complaint to test to see if it would be recorded as a non-crime hate incident. It was, and the police hate it. No wonder. I think most people who sign up to join the police want to jump across the bonnet of a car, throw violent criminals up against a wall, not handcuff someone for saying that their cat is a Methodist. Lord Herbert, the head of the College of Policing, which sets the rules for the police, said, if police are drawn into areas that are highly controversial, where there's a general perception that police should not be, that does undermine confidence. And former Met Detective Chief Inspector David Spencer said, there is little doubt that the recording of non-crime hate incidents risks providing a chilling effect on freedom of speech, with the grave effects it has in a liberal democratic society. And Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp says that officers are misusing the law probably 90% of the time. So if these laws are dealing with things that no sensible person would see as crimes and are misapplied and hated by the police, why do they exist? Our politicians say that these laws are necessary to preserve community cohesion in a multicultural society. But if they're so concerned about community cohesion, they wouldn't be importing millions of people from radically different cultures to make a multicultural society, which is guaranteed to result in more social friction. No, our establishment has been usurped, has been taken over by far-left activists who want to tear down existing systems and remake Britain as a communist country. Everything they do, mass immigration, high taxes, net zero, is a push towards realising this goal of communism. In the Soviet Union, in fact under any communist regime, there are laws so confusing, so vaguely worded that anyone could feasibly be seen as breaking them, so the state can then just pick and choose who it applies these laws to, and everyone has to live in fear of them. All these nebulous terms like stirring up hatred or likely to cause alarm or distress against a protected group. I mean, what the hell is a protected group? Why are some groups protected and others aren't? This whole thing is deliberately confusing. A good law should be easy to understand and hard to break accidentally. Hate crime laws are not good laws. Free speech is inextricably linked to free market economics, with people having the freedom to buy what they want and deal with whoever they want in their business. Under a communist system, you buy what the state tells you to and have the opinions the state tells you to. For all this talk of needing hate crime laws to protect minorities, our leaders should remember there's no smaller minority than the individual. Anyway, thanks for listening. Please commit a hate crime by sharing this video, and if you want to support me making these videos, you can consider signing up to my Patreon and join a growing community of the only sane people left in the West. Okay, thanks for listening. I've been Leo Kears. Bye. Bye-bye.